You don't become a millionaire when the bank account says so. You become one the moment your mind refuses to live in scarcity, when your thoughts walk taller than your circumstances, when your habits defy your paycheck. Riches are never the beginning. They are the echo of a decision you make long before anyone sees it. The real treasure starts with how you think. There is a pattern, a rhythm, a frequency that wealth vibrates at. It's not louder, it's deeper. Millionaire thinking isn't about luxury. It's about alignment. It's about the invisible architecture behind every visible empire. And until you build that architecture in your mind, all the money in the world will collapse under the weight of a poor mentality. So let's start with the foundation mindset. Millionaires don't see limits the same way most people do. They don't look at walls and stop. They look for doors. Where others see risk, they see ratios. They understand something simple. Life pays you exactly what you believe you're worth. Not what you wish, not what you say, what you truly believe in your bones. A poor mindset bargains with life. It asks for a little, tiptoes around rejection, prays for scraps. A millionaire mindset demands value, commands attention, and walks like it's already been done. It doesn't beg for opportunity, it creates it. Because real wealth isn't money, it's the strength of your perspective. Now, belief. Belief is not some soft concept floating in the sky. Belief is a weapon, and the first target is yourself. You must believe that your future can be radically different than your past, or nothing else matters. Most people don't fail because of lack of talent. They fail because they've submitted to a story someone else wrote for them. The millionaire rewrites the script. They don't believe in odds, because odds are for gamblers, not architects. And the wealthy mind is always building. While the average mind is trying to escape work, the millionaire mind is trying to create work, meaningful, scalable, value-packed work. They believe in contribution before consumption. They don't think, how do I get more? They think, how do I give better? That's how wealth responds. It flows to those who serve better. Next, clarity. The mind without clarity is like a GPS without a destination. Doesn't matter how fast you're driving, you're still lost. You can hustle all day, grind all night, but if you don't have a clear internal image of where you're going, you'll just burn energy and call it ambition. Millionaires don't confuse movement with progress. They aren't seduced by busyness. They pursue precision. They are clear on who they are, what they do, and where they're headed. Clarity is rare. That's why it's powerful. Most people live reactive lives. Millionaires live intentional ones. And that clarity, it breeds confidence. Because once you see it clearly, you begin to act accordingly. Then comes vision. Vision is not a daydream, it's a decision. It's the courage to see something before it's visible. Every millionaire you admire, every leader who shifted history, every artist who shaped culture, they saw something others couldn't. And then they became the person who could build it. Your vision is your personal revolution. It's not a fantasy, it's a prophecy. And you must protect it, feed it, water it, because the world will try to blind you with comfort, numb you with doubt, and bury your hunger under layers of fear. But your vision, that's your resurrection. It wakes you when you're tired. It moves you when you're stuck. It whispers, keep going. When everything else screams, turn back. Purpose. This is the soul of millionaire thinking. If you don't have a reason bigger than money, you won't keep it. Wealth without purpose is just ego with a budget. Purpose is what gives your money a mission. It's what turns income into impact. It's not about how much you make, it's about what your money makes possible. A millionaire mindset is purpose-driven. It ties its goals to something eternal, something significant. It knows that selfish ambition burns out, but meaningful contribution compounds. And when you attach your work to a mission, you stop working for money and money starts working for you. Discipline. You cannot separate success from structure. Millionaires don't get lucky, they get consistent. They do what's necessary, not what's convenient. They don't wait for motivation, they create routines that make success inevitable. Discipline is the muscle that turns thoughts into things. It's the bridge from someday to done. And here's the truth. Discipline feels like sacrifice at first. It feels like saying no. No to distractions, no to comfort, no to the mediocre version of yourself. But what it really is an investment in your future self. The version of you that already has what you want, they live differently, they wake up differently, they think differently. Action. This is the litmus test of belief. If you really believed, you'd be moving, not perfecting, not preparing forever, moving. Millionaire minds take massive action because they understand that clarity comes from engagement, not overthinking. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They create motion until the conditions become irrelevant. Success isn't a feeling. It's a flow. And you only tap into that flow when you stop hesitating and start doing. Even if it's messy. Even if it's ugly. Progress loves motion. But perfection? That's just procrastination in a suit. Gratitude. Yes, the wealthy mind practices gratitude not as a ritual, but as a strategy. Because you can't attract what you secretly resent. If you're bitter about what others have, you'll repel the very thing you desire. Gratitude keeps your heart aligned and your spirit fertile. It keeps your soil rich so when you plant, you grow. Millionaires are grateful before the result. They are thankful in advance. That's not delusion, that's faith. That's power. That's understanding that appreciation is magnetic. It draws more into your life. More opportunity. More abundance. More reason to be grateful. Adaptability. The terrain of success is not flat. It shifts, evolves, and throws curveballs when you least expect it. A millionaire mind doesn't resist the change, it embraces it. It sees change not as an obstacle, but as a signal to upgrade, to evolve, to pivot with precision. Rigidity is the enemy of relevance. In a world that changes by the second, the flexible mind wins. The adaptable spirit rises. Because when you are married to your methods instead of your mission, you die with your old ways. But the millionaire thinker is loyal only to the result. They will change the strategy, not the standard. They bend so they don't break. They move with the current, but remain anchored to the vision. Resilience. This is the heartbeat of every real success story. You can't think like a millionaire without bleeding through some failure, without grinding through some setbacks. But here's what sets them apart. When most people break down, the millionaire breaks open. When most people lose hope, they build hunger. Pain, rejection, defeat. These are not the end. They are refinements. They are sharpening your edge, expanding your capacity, testing your worth. And the resilient mind doesn't fear failure. It feeds on it. It extracts wisdom. It digs deeper roots. Because true wealth is never just about rising. It's about the ability to rise again and again and again. Learning. The millionaire mind is a student forever. Not because it wants degrees or validation, but because it craves evolution. It knows that every breakthrough starts with a breakdown of old ideas, of small thinking, of yesterday's truth. So it learns, not for applause, not for status, but for leverage. Every book is a blueprint. Every mentor, a shortcut. Every mistake, a syllabus. You cannot think like a millionaire and reject learning. Because the currency of the future is not money, it's intelligence. The ability to learn faster, think deeper, adapt quicker. Millionaires don't read to pass time, they read to collapse time. And they understand this, you can't be too busy to learn. That's like saying you're too thirsty to drink. Learning is the lifeline, the breath, the fire that fuels the next level. Now pause with me, not to stop, but to absorb. Think about what's been said, not as words, but as mirrors. What are they reflecting back to you? What old beliefs are shaking? What dreams are stirring again? That's not coincidence. That's alignment. Because this isn't about pretending to be rich. This is about preparing. Preparing your mind to hold the weight of abundance. Preparing your character to withstand the altitude of success. Preparing your habits to sustain the lifestyle your future requires. The truth is, money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. It amplifies your patterns, magnifies your mindset, accelerates your trajectory. And if your mind is poor, even $1 million will feel like starvation. But if your mind is rich, you'll create wealth from nothing. So think richly, speak richly, move richly. Let your thoughts be investments, not expenses. Let your beliefs be bold, not borrowed. Let your actions reflect your destiny, not your history. Think like a millionaire before you're rich, and one day you'll look around and realize you've been rich all along. In discipline, in purpose, in clarity, in vision, in growth, in gratitude. And that kind of wealth, that's the kind no one can take from you. Because when you think like a millionaire before you're rich, you begin to attract riches that are far beyond the monetary. You begin to speak differently. You begin to walk with a rhythm that commands attention. You carry an invisible crown, not of arrogance, but of alignment. The world doesn't just see your actions, it feels your intent. Energy is contagious, and a wealthy mind transmits power without a word. Not the loud kind of power that shouts for validation, but the quiet force that makes people pause because they sense that you know exactly where you're going. That clarity is currency. And it starts small. Micro decisions, tiny shifts. You start waking up a little earlier, reading a little deeper, asking better questions. You stop gossiping. You start listening. You stop waiting. You start creating. These are not surface level changes. They are tectonic. They shift the entire landscape of your future. The way you think about problems changes. Poor minds panic, rich minds analyze. Poor minds run, rich minds rise. You stop taking things personally. You stop reacting emotionally. You start calculating moves like a grandmaster on a chessboard of destiny. You become strategic. You start to see differently. You understand that success doesn't respond to need, it responds to value. The world is not withholding from you, it's responding to you, your habits, your standards, your emotional discipline, your commitment to mastery. Millionaire thinking isn't entitled, it's earned every day through consistency, sacrifice, and vision. And you begin to protect your environment, you audit your circle. You realize you can't fly like an eagle surrounded by pigeons. So you let go, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Because proximity is power. Who you listen to, who you associate with, who you allow to speak into your life that shapes you more than you know. The millionaire mind builds walls around its peace. It doesn't allow just anyone to plant seeds in its soil. It's selective because it understands that the wrong voices can poison a harvest before it even sprouts. And slowly, your life starts to reflect your thinking. The gap between your vision and your reality begins to close. People call it luck, but you know better. You know it was discipline, disguised as daily habits. You know it was courage, masked as persistence. You know it was belief, dressed in action. And here's the secret. The shift doesn't happen after success. It happens before. Long before the world applauds, you applaud yourself. Long before the income rises, your standards do. Long before the followers come, you follow through. That's millionaire thinking. It's living with the pressure of excellence when no one is watching. It's doing the work when there's no promise, no praise, no payout. It's trusting the process so deeply that even the silence feels sacred. And you start to understand it's not about chasing the dream, it's about becoming the person who dreams at that level. Success isn't something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. Jim Rohn said that. And it's truer now than ever. You don't just need a bigger paycheck. You need a bigger perspective. You don't just need new strategies. You need a new identity. Because wealth flows through identity. And when you stop identifying as broke, stuck, behind, and start identifying as capable, destined, disciplined, everything begins to change. This is how legacies are born. Quietly, consistently, one aligned thought at a time, one bold decision at a time, one resilient moment at a time. You start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You start asking, what can I create today? Instead of, what can I avoid? You start living like your life is your message because it is. Every choice, every word, every move, it speaks. What is it saying? The millionaire thinker speaks fluency in solutions. It doesn't dwell on problems. It diagnoses them, dissects them, and dissolves them through action. It doesn't fear uncertainty. It leverages it. Because chaos to the prepared mind is just untapped power. And you begin to realize you're not preparing for success. You are success in the way you think, in the way you lead yourself, in the way you rise after falling, in the way you dream without apology and act without hesitation. Because to think like a millionaire is to no longer be available for mediocrity. It is to walk away from average like it's a burning building. It is to see excuses as thieves and distractions as enemies. You don't dabble in growth, you dive into it. You don't flirt with your potential, you marry it. And once that shift locks in, once your thoughts align with the future you're building, nothing can stop you. Not failure, not delay, not rejection, because a millionaire mind is unstoppable. Not because it never falls, but because it always rises, sharper, smarter, stronger. And that is where true wealth begins. It begins when you no longer chase wealth, but instead embody it. When the way you think, the way you walk into a room, the way you speak to yourself in silence, all of it says, I'm ready, ready. Not just to receive, but to steward, to manage abundance with integrity, to multiply it with intention. The millionaire thinker isn't obsessed with status, they're obsessed with substance. They aren't trying to look rich, they're trying to be useful. Because they know something the world often forgets. Wealth isn't found in display. It's found in depth. It's not in the flash, it's in the foundation. And your foundation must be built on principles that do not shake. Principles like self-respect, like delayed gratification, like relentless self-honesty. Because no amount of cash can cover the cracks of a character not yet forged in fire. So yes, think like a millionaire, but not in arrogance, in alignment. Align your thoughts with excellence. Align your habits with greatness. Align your vision with contribution. Because the secret isn't to wish for more money, it's to become someone who money must follow. And you do that through the daily decisions, the early mornings, the quiet moments of clarity, the times you choose work over whining, learning over lounging, creating over complaining. That's where the empire begins. Not in the spotlight, in the shadows, where no one's watching but you. Because thinking like a millionaire means you understand this deeply. Your future is listening. It hears the way you speak to your goals. It hears the way you respond to fear. It hears the whispers of your work ethic. And it takes notes. The future you want is already shaping itself around your present choices. So choose boldly. Choose like your legacy depends on it, because it does. Speak like your words are seeds, because they are. Act like your time is sacred, because it is. Think like your thoughts are blueprints, because one day they will become structures. And here's the quiet truth. Many will never understand you. Not when you start thinking differently. Not when you raise your standards. Not when you choose discipline over drama, vision over validation. But you don't need them to understand. You need you to be unshakable. Because when the inner world is secure, the outer world bends to it. You don't adapt to the chaos, you bring order. You don't lower your frequency. You rise and watch what can't follow fall away. This is what it means to think like a millionaire before you're rich. It means you become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature of your life. You define the terms of your growth. And you measure wealth not by what you have, but by what you're willing to become. And so you rise not with noise, but with clarity. Not with ego, but with vision. You rise not to prove, but to fulfill. To stretch every inch of your potential. To wake up every ounce of your sleeping greatness. Because you know this isn't just about money, it's about mastery of your mind, of your emotions, of your path. And when you master those, wealth follows. It doesn't trickle. It flows. It pours into prepared hands. It magnetizes to maturity. It finds its way to the mind that has already become what it seeks. So ask yourself, not how much do you want, but how much are you willing to grow? Not what do you need, but what are you becoming? Because that is the real question. And the millionaire thinker, they already answered it. With every action, every decision, every belief too strong to break. And now it's your turn. Think like a millionaire before you're rich, so that when it comes, it finds a kingdom already built. And when that kingdom rises, it will not be built on sand. It will not sway with every storm or crumble under pressure. It will stand because you built it first in the mind brick by invisible brick. Thought by elevated thought. You will not apologize for dreaming bigger. You will not shrink to make others comfortable. You will not let small minds convince you that greatness is arrogance. Because now you understand humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking truthfully about yourself. And the truth is, you were never meant to live average. You were meant to create, to rise, to break ceilings that once felt like sky. You were meant to own your mind like a general commands an army firm, focused and unrelenting. Because a distracted mind is a defeated life, and the millionaire mind is focused like a laser. It knows what it wants. It knows why it wants it, and it does not negotiate with laziness. It does not make deals with doubt. It does not bargain with fear. It moves. It executes. It builds while the rest of the world talks. It's not louder. It's clearer. It's not faster. It's wiser. Because in a world racing for relevance, the millionaire thinker is carving meaning, and meaning outlasts momentum. The millionaire mind sees time differently. It doesn't waste minutes, it invests them. It doesn't chase weekends, it chases legacy. It understands that every day is either a brick in the empire or a crack in the foundation. There is no neutral. There is no pause button on destiny. So how do you know if you're thinking like a millionaire? Look at your patterns, your morning, your night, your silence, your sacrifice. Look at what you tolerate. Look at what you repeat. That's your blueprint. That's your mental architecture. And if it's not aligned, rebuild. Today, with urgency. Because time is not waiting for your potential to wake up. Opportunity does not RSVP. It shows up unannounced. And only those already dressed in discipline are invited in. Speak life into your vision, your business, your body, your relationships. Don't wait for proof. Don't wait for applause. Speak as if your words are seeds. And they are. Because your life will always reflect the language you plant. Say, I am becoming. Say, I am capable. Say, I am willing to work harder than anyone else. Say, I'm done being available for average. Say it until your nervous system believes it. Say it until the old you no longer recognizes you. This isn't motivation. This is reprogramming. This is how you shed the skin of smallness. This is how you step into the life your soul has been begging you to build. Because the real flex is not the car, not the house, not the followers. It's waking up knowing you built yourself. It's looking in the mirror and respecting the person staring back. It's walking through fire and realizing it didn't burn you, it branded you, marked you for more. This is millionaire thinking. It's not hype. It's not hustle porn. It's sacred. It's quiet. It's unshakable. It's the kind of thinking that survives recessions, betrayals, failures, pandemics, because it's not rooted in the economy. It's rooted in identity. And identity, once transformed, becomes destiny. So I ask you again, not softly, but with urgency, who are you becoming? Because how you answer that will determine everything. It will determine what doors open when you knock and which ones remain closed even if you beg. It will determine whether life responds to you as a servant to your vision or a mirror of your hesitation. It will determine whether you build a legacy or a life that looks good only on the surface but collapses in silence. You think like a millionaire when you start to realize that excuses are spiritual poison. That every time you say, I can't, I'm not ready, or it's too late, you're handing your power over to a version of yourself that was never meant to lead. Millionaire thinking takes the reins back. It replaces excuses with execution. It silences self-pity with purpose. And when that shift happens, it's not subtle. Your energy changes. Your voice carries more weight. Your gaze sharpens. Your steps echo with direction. You no longer look for signs, you become one. You walk into rooms and alter the atmosphere. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you carry intention. That's real power. The millionaire mind doesn't need validation, it brings value. It doesn't wait to be chosen, it chooses itself. It knows that no one is coming to save it. No government, no employer, no miracle. Because the real miracle was always there. You, your decisions, your discipline, your fire. And that fire doesn't burn out, it builds. It spreads. It ignites the people around you. Because when you truly think like a millionaire, you don't just change your own life, you change others. You inspire silently, not by what you say, but by what you are. Your consistency becomes contagious. Your integrity becomes inspiration. Your rise gives others permission to rise too. That's the power of one person who chooses to think differently. One person who says, I don't care where I came from, I care where I'm going. Because where you came from is your context, not your conclusion. Your story doesn't end with poverty or pain or doubt. It starts there. That's just the intro. But the millionaire thinker, they write the middle with sweat and the end with legacy. They don't stop when it's hard, they push harder. They don't slow down. Because it's uncomfortable, they speed up. They train their emotions like a warrior polishes a blade. No wild swings. No reckless chaos. Precision, power, patience. They are not ruled by feelings. They are led by purpose. So yes, to think like a millionaire before you're rich is to declare war. Not on the world, but on every old habit trying to drag you back into average. On every small belief trying to shrink your vision. On every lazy tendency trying to seduce you back into mediocrity. You don't negotiate with that part of you. You confront it. You say, no more. No more procrastination disguised as perfection. No more playing small to protect fragile egos. No more watering down your voice to fit into rooms you've outgrown. You are not here to blend in. You are here to build. You are not here to maintain. You are here to multiply. You are not here to survive. You are here to dominate the level you were born to rise from. So build the mindset, stack the thoughts, speak the words, live the actions, and one day they will call you lucky. But you'll know better. You'll know that wealth was never something you found. It was something you became. You became it when no one was watching, when the mornings were cold and the progress was slow, when the doubt was loud and the winds were invisible. You became it in silence, in sacrifice, in solitude. And now that wealth has arrived, it doesn't shock you. It recognizes you. Because you've been thinking like this long before the bank account caught up, long before the applause, the opportunities, the outer affirmation. There was the inner declaration, the decision, the unshakable, soul-level decision that you would no longer be a prisoner of your past, that you would no longer lease your future to fear, that you would own every step forward like your life depended on it, because it did. And now the world sees the results. But what they don't see is what it cost. It cost comfort. It cost popularity. It cost weekends. It cost habits. It cost letting go of the version of you that was addicted to approval. It cost outgrowing places and people and patterns that once felt like home. But you paid in full. And now you collect in compound. This is not about wealth for wealth's sake. This is about who you had to become to handle it. Because without that inner transformation, money will only expose your fractures. But with the right mindset, money becomes a tool, a force, a flame in your hands that lights up possibility for generations. That's why you don't just build income. You build influence. You build impact. You build infrastructure, mental, emotional, spiritual, that holds steady when the storms come. Because the storms will come. Economy shifts, people leave, plans break. But the millionaire thinker doesn't crumble, they adapt. They learn, they evolve. They pivot like a river around rock fluid, powerful, unstoppable. And they never go back to small. Not mentally, not emotionally. Once you've thought richly, once you've spoken life over your future, once you've walked like you own your breath, there's no returning to survival mode. You've tasted purpose. You've touched clarity. You've felt the fire. And now you understand this isn't a phase. It's a new operating system, a new standard. And standards don't fluctuate with mood. They don't fade with friction. They solidify with every decision. You've become the kind of person success must follow. You don't chase it, it chases you because it knows where you live now. It knows your frequency. It knows your integrity. It knows your consistency. It's drawn to you because you are magnetic with meaning. So keep rising, keep refining, keep reaching, and never again question if you're worthy. Never again ask for permission to dream. You've already paid the price in blood, in time, in transformation. You are not waiting for wealth. Wealth has been waiting for you. And now that you've shown up with the mind of a millionaire, the life of one will not be far behind. Own it. Speak it. Be it. And from this moment forward, you no longer speak as someone hoping for change. You speak as someone initiating it. Your words no longer beg. They build. Your voice is no longer the echo of circumstance. It is the command of destiny. You speak life because your tongue is a sword and a seed. Every sentence is soil. Every affirmation, a foundation. You say what will be, not what currently is. That is the language of those who rise before they're seen. Say it. I am not my past. I am not my paycheck. I am not the fear that once kept me silent. Say it louder. I am not waiting to be chosen. I have already chosen myself. Because now you know everything starts in the unseen. The millionaire sees the skyscraper while standing on dirt. They plant while others mock. They water while others scroll. They grow in silence. Until the harvest speaks so loudly the world can't ignore it. But make no mistake, there will be resistance. Not just from the outside. The greatest resistance will come from the inside. From that whisper of doubt trying to keep you common. From that voice of old patterns, pleading for comfort. You must kill that voice with vision. Bury it under discipline. Replace it with a roar that says, I do not owe average a single breath. And when it's hard, especially when it's hard, that's when you double down. That's when you remind yourself, I was not built for comfort. I was built for greatness. Not someday today. Not when it's easy. When it matters. The world needs more people who think like this. Who live like this, who refuse to wait for the right moment and instead become the moment, who stop asking, what if I fail, and start demanding, what if I fly? Because there are generations depending on your rise. People you haven't even met yet, whose lives will be better because you chose to think differently. Families will be fed, visions will be fulfilled, cycles will be broken. Not because you were born lucky, but because you thought richly before reality agreed. And now that you see it, there is no turning back. You don't need a title to lead. You don't need proof to pursue. You don't need guarantees, you need grit. The mind you've built is worth more than any dollar amount because it can't be taxed, it can't be stolen. It multiplies every room you walk into, every life you touch, every goal you set. You've stepped into a power that few dare to touch, the power to create from thought, to declare from a place of conviction, to live from identity, not insecurity. So now what? Now you walk it out every day. No days off from becoming, no compromise in your calling, no backup plan for your vision. Because this thinking, this truth, this fire you now carry, this is how millionaires are made. Not in the vault, but in the mind. And the moment you own that truth, the ground shifts beneath you. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped waiting for signs and became the sign. You stopped negotiating with fear and started dictating to the future. You speak with clarity now because confusion no longer pays rent in your mind. You act with urgency now because delay is just a polite form of denial. You live with precision now because wandering is expensive and your vision too sacred to waste. You understand now thinking like a millionaire is not about a fantasy. It's about framework. It's not a shortcut. It's a standard. And that standard bleeds into every decision, every discipline, every defiant move you make against mediocrity. There are no neutral habits. Every choice is either compounding or corrupting your destiny. So you get ruthless. Ruthless about your energy, ruthless about your boundaries, ruthless about your time, Because millionaires don't let time manage them. They manage results. They don't clock hours, they count impact. Every second is a seed, and they refuse to spend it planting weeds. This is how empires are built. Silently, steadily, strategically. Not in a weekend, not in a workshop, but in a lifestyle. Millionaire thinking is the lifestyle. It's a non-negotiable code written deep into your character. It's in how you start your day, how you end your day, how you talk to yourself when nobody's clapping and nothing's working and everything feels like failure. That's the test. That's the fire. And if you survive it, no. If you rise in it, you become unstoppable. Not because you're smarter, but because you stayed. You stayed when others flinched. You moved when others froze. You focused when others folded. That's what separates those who wish from those who win. And here's the truth that will follow you forever. It's not about being the most talented. It's not about having the best connections. It's not about luck or looks or lineage. It's about who can think like they've already won long before the scoreboard agrees. That's you now. You don't just carry goals, you carry grit. You don't just hustle for outcomes. You hold yourself to outcomes. You don't just set dreams, you speak them into order. And what's wild is this. Once you think this way, success stops feeling like a chase. It starts feeling like alignment, like gravity, like everything you've been building in the dark finally turning toward the light. So let them wonder how you did it. Let them whisper that it came out of nowhere. Let them call it talent, luck, fate. You'll smile because you'll know the truth. You thought like a millionaire before you were rich. And that is why you are now